And now we'll turn to our guest of honor, Alysha Ellis, who we're very pleased to welcome to us this afternoon. Working with her mom, she created Healthy Living Kitchen and in 2015, Freshly Rooted. The goal is to help communities understand the importance of eating healthy foods and to appreciate the connection between nutrition and health. She's a graduate of Jumpstart's Core City Cleveland Impact Program, and she just secured her MBA from Cleveland State in December. That better positioned her to make sure that she could truly succeed with Freshly Rooted. And as she proclaimed, she networked her way through that MBA and connected with anyone possible. She is a true collaborator, partnering with the City of Cleveland, the Cleveland Clinic, Metro Health, and is currently branching into Lorain County. She's working recently on Seeds, a program to develop women personally and professionally in partnership with Councilwoman Jasmine Santana. As you can tell by all of her tireless efforts, she is a woman dedicated to work in the community, accomplishing equity, and with a true commitment to entrepreneurship. She's also a winner of our Fresh Innovator Award at our Spark Leadership Symposium. So welcome. We're happy that you could join us this afternoon. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Marianne. That was such a warm welcome. And I also want to say thank you to Rachel, who has worked with me over the last couple of months to go through the Innovative Award ceremony and also securing this slot for the lunch break. So I enjoy working with Rachel, and also Nick. I can't pass up the opportunity to shout out to Nick. He's been a great supporter of our work with Freshly Rooted, but also as me as a small business owner, entrepreneur, and community activist. He's always championing for me and other onboard graduates within the Cleveland Leadership Center. So I do want to make sure I give a great plug and shout out to you, Nick, because you do such a phenomenal job with all that you do for us. And then also the playlist that was jamming out that Rachel put together, Super Women Empowerment. I felt just encouraged before I got on. So thank you, Rachel, for those great songs. I'll just jump right into it. I'm a super informative person. So along the way, if you have any comments, feel free to use the chat box like Rachel had mentioned. My name is Alicia Ellis, MBA at Cleveland State University. I see one of my professors on here as well. Jim, great to see you joining us. Cleveland native, really had a lot of different experiences growing up and exposure to different cultures and different ethnic groups, and really that shaped a lot of my interest to making sure that I was always connected to community and feeling a part of community. And that, I believe, has driven some of my work now within my own personal career to stay local within Cleveland and continuing to put the resources and the time and energy around what Cleveland needs now. And I believe Freshly Rooted is part of those solutions and have been a part of the table in those discussions for over the last 5.5 years. So Freshly Rooted is a small startup business about 5.5 years ago. I continue to say startup because I feel like every year is like reinventing ourselves and trying to stay trendy and up to date, like many small businesses across our region that is always trying to survive, especially now within the times that we're in. So I always say startup, even though technically we're no longer in a startup phase, but it always feels like it's new, it's fresh. And as long as we keep it like that, we'll continue to evolve and advance with the times. So as mentioned, co-founded Freshly Rooted, originally known as the Healthy Living Kitchen, with my mom, chef, and now recently graduate of the Institute for Innovative Health. She's now a health and lifestyle coach, so she adds that to her credentials, along with our business partner, Rhonda Sharpu, who's also a health and lifestyle coach. And really, Freshly Rooted was founded upon their personal experiences around health and their personal traumas, whether it was generational traumas, mental health challenges, physical challenges that they had. They really were able to do a lot of their own personal journey and be able to amplify that within the work that we currently offer with Freshly Rooted. So most of you are probably familiar with the social determinants of health, talking about whether it's social economic statuses or education, poverty, lack of access to healthy food, environment, all of these things contribute to our health, our spirit, our mind, our body. And we really utilize our own personal experiences to amplify the transformation that Rhonda and Yolanda have been through within their personal journeys to make it relatable, reflectable, so that our customers, our clientels, like we end up calling them all family, but in the business world, there are clients and our customers, but we really are able to lead with their own personal experiences and how they have been able to really go through and make the necessary changes in their own personal lives to then reflect into their outer ring, into their environment. So that's pretty much how Fresh Rooted has started over the years, and it has advanced. Marianne had mentioned some of the success that we have had over the years with our partnerships. We have really been able to grow our network over the years, from rethinking community systems and how we have access to food, access to nutrition education with partnerships with Metro Health, on offering fresh produce in their women's and children's pavilion, to redesigning access. So thinking about ways that folks can access healthy food and access to nutritional education, which goes hand in hand to access, understanding that recently, most of you have probably already heard that Cleveland is now #1 in poverty across the country as a medium-sized city. This is devastating, not just for us within our organizations, but the folks who are most vulnerable. So we understand that as part of our core guiding principles within Fresh Rooted, to making sure that those individuals and those communities are included in the way that we see community and the way that we provide our services. So access to healthy food and education has been part of the main services that we've offered since 2015, and how we think about access, right? And then we evolved to innovative community engagement. In 2017, we really put a lot of effort into rethinking our partnerships and rethinking our core values, and how to truly cultivate community through community development and also through community transformation. And so we have been able to connect with a lot of different local community development corporations, Tri-C, the city of Cleveland, to really think about how do we build a foundation that works for the residents and for the community that we're looking to serve and that we aim to serve. So really growing community capacity in the same time. And so as things evolved, we started thinking about how do we look at life-sustaining education and really putting together programming that is not just a cookie cutter approach, because we see a lot of that in community engagement, is really designing it to be customized for the individual. And that's something that is very innovative, and why I was so grateful to receive the Innovative Award, because for the SEEDS program, that is what really has made SEEDS, which stands for Support, Empower, Develop, and Sustain. I know, kind of a long acronym there, but using those type of engagements to really making sure that we meet the women and also the men and the children, because we also do young youth engagement as well, but meeting them where they're at and really customizing programming to fit them and where they're at within their own personal lives. So self-sustaining education is not something that we hear a lot of. This is where we believe Fresh Rooted has really come in to expand and increase capacity, engagement, and overall lead the work to sustainable results. While growing in new markets, we believe within Fresh Rooted has continued to serve low resource communities at times are very vulnerable. And so this type of commitment to empower and support others, no matter the social or economic status, is a part of our core value. And you can also see a lot of this information on our website. And as we advanced, into 2019, which was a huge year for us as a small business, a lot of great success, we understood that for us to continue to be successful and for our clients to continue to advance with the times that we're in, we need to intentionally build resiliency, especially within the neighborhoods that we serve across the city in the most vulnerable populations, really establishing innovative solutions to build and teach individuals, families, and communities how to be resilient. And I think a lot of that ties into where we're at now in 2020. Um, we understand that there's been a lot of pivots in our day-to-day activities around specifically around community engagement and outreach. It's very hard right now to engage folks at that type of grassroots level. And then also looking at social media being so saturated right now with so many different flyers and events and Zoom, there's a lot of fatigue that's happening at the community level that we're not able to really talk about at a higher level, like, platforms like this. And I wanted to make sure that I highlighted some of that work and some of the hardship that we're facing right now when it comes to community engagement and outreach during, a global pandemic at the city level here in Cleveland. There is a lot of challenges that we're facing, but one thing I've noticed, and this is, I think, a great opportunity to highlight and showcase this, is that there are so many residents and grassroots leaders who are doing a phenomenal work and who are really rolled up their sleeves and gotten their hands dirty during this time. You've seen a lot around voter registration and the census, and there's no shortage of community effort in the sense of the residents and the grassroots leaders doing and leading this work. So I do encourage everybody to continue to tap into what's happening in your neighborhood and what's happening across communities in the city of Cleveland, to volunteer, whether you're comfortable volunteering in person or on a digital virtual platform. There's always ways that you can continue to support this type of work. And so with that being said, 2020, we really continue to push through our community transformation and really providing integrative solutions around the way we see community and how we want to see community moving forward. So as we rethink, redesign, innovate, educate, build, transform, it's promising that we do that through the transparency lens of integrity, love, and truth. And these words may kind of sound like, well, how do we do that? But essentially, during this time, we know that a lot of folks just want to be heard. They want to feel like their voices are heard and they feel like they have a support team. And really, we spent a lot of our time during 2020 on Zoom calls, but also doing more in-person one-on-one sessions with a lot of our clients to better understand like what their needs are. Making sure that even if things are not going as planned, how can we support you as an individual and within your own household on your own personal health and lifestyle journey? And so providing resources and platforms and pipelines to making sure that especially our clients and our communities have the resources that they need during this time, which is something that we've never seen before within the context of community. So long story short, we specialize in corporate wellness programs as well. So if you are a part of any any corporations, we do offer services in making sure that your employees are managing their own health and wellness within the workplace and creating an environment that is wholesome to the entire individual in the workspace. And then community engagement initiatives, which is a lot what I've already mentioned, which is a core of our work. Is making sure that we are providing solution-driven work and impact to making sure that things are sustainable and transformative as we think through the lens of community. And then last but not least, our third pillar for Fresh Drew Rooted is personalized coaching. So a lot of the environments that we're in is around more of the group setting, and sometimes folks may not be as comfortable sharing their personal health issues or their personal concerns in a group environment. And so we have added about 2.5 years ago, the personal coaching, where you can get one-on-one coaching around health and lifestyle choices and decisions, and how we can really put a plan together to better your own personal journey. And so I would like to kind of share a little bit more about Seeds. Marianne had shared a great snippet of what the Seeds program is. And I think as we think about how the future looks from a virtual standpoint, we've been able to really pivot our program, which was designed to be an in-person 9-month program, to now offering it in a smaller increment and doses as 6 different series as a 4-week commitment per series, and that is offered virtually. It's for all women who are residents of the city of Cleveland. So if you, or if you know anybody who may be, who may have an interest, or it may be beneficial for them to sign up for the program, we have openings from November through February. We are currently just kicked off this morning at 8:30, our second series, which is the beauty of rest. So understanding how rest can contribute to our health and has contributed to our mental status as well, especially when there's so many stressors around us during this time. Understanding the importance of sleep and rest and different techniques and tools that you can utilize to strengthen your rest during this time. And now I know it's getting ready to get cold here in Cleveland, Ohio, and things drastically shift for us. So we want to make sure that we're getting the necessary sleep and restoration that our body needs as we continue to do this amazing work that I know many of you are doing on a daily basis. So I'm glad to be a part of Freshly Rooted. I have moved into more of a strategic planning role as the co-founder, and really utilizing the network and the skill set that I've been able to grow over the years to really think about how do we build sustainable solutions, not just for now, but for long-term within our partnerships. And then also thinking about ways that now virtual engagement is our new reality, and how do we kind of adapt to that type of reality now within our concept of a small business. So I do want to leave you all, and I know we're going to get into some Q&A, but if you have any other additional questions that you want to take offline, you can feel free to email me at Alysha Ellis at Freshly Rooted. You can visit our website at www.freshlyrooted.com. And also, we're always posting us on social media at Freshly Rooted on Twitter, freshly_rooted, and then also on Facebook and Instagram. I know it's a lot to juggle, and we are always looking for interns. So there is a plug for any interns coming up for the spring of 2021. Feel free to make those connections with us. And I thank you all for the opportunity to share a little bit about myself, and also some about Freshly Rooted and the impact and the work that we've done over the years and we're currently working on.
Great, Alicia, thank you so much. And we do have some questions. And for those on the call, any questions that you have, feel free to put them into the chat box. To start, can you talk a little bit more about how you envision continuing to expand into the communities you serve? And as you talk about a lot of the virtual engagement being kind of what we need to focus on now, how might your work be hindered by the digital divide?
Yes, I know. This is actually, the digital divide was one question I posed for the Innovative Award Q&A, because this is a huge piece that we're seeing across not just the city of Cleveland, but every urban and even suburban area across the country. So I answered the first part first. Originally, this year was our launch, our location year, which was going to be our brick and mortar of a one-stop shop where you can join us in a cafe setting and also have educational classes in a wholesome environment for you to be refreshed and restored. Obviously, with the pandemic, we were not able to move into a location, but that is still our long-term goal within 2021, to having a location where folks can come visit us and participate and partake in a Freshly Rooted on a more of a grab and go basis. And so that's something that we're looking to continue to expand our work in the community. Our goal is to have one on the near west side, and then eventually launch one in one of the neighborhoods that we've been contributing to over the years on the east side, which is predominantly like the central Kinsman, Midtown area, where folks continue to support us no matter where we're at locally and mobile within Freshly Rooted. We have a lot of great support on the east side communities too. And then the second part of that question, in the sense of virtual, it's very tough, I think, for us personally, and our great example is with the Seeds program that we have now moved virtual, is making sure that women know that this program is for them. And so ideally, in the past, it was easy to send a blast email with a flyer to, our organizations that we have partnerships with, but also women who have patronized our services in the past. Now we're learning that picking up the phone is the best way to contact people, and text messaging. I know it's bizarre, but I have like added 50 new contacts of women from this virtual portion of our program, because texting is easier to communicate with. And so just trying to understand where women are at, and not just women, but in the sense of a larger context, where folks are at during this time, what's convenient for them and what do they need. I think as we understand the need of residents during this time, we'll be better off serving them. I think a lot of the times we as program developers or even economic developers or urban planners, we kind of plan things based on the data and the research, which is, there's time and need for that. But right now, because so many things are changing and every day something new is happening across the country and in our communities, we have to really intentionally engage community in understanding their needs and what they're looking for right now, so that our programming and our efforts on the organizational side and then the business side is worthwhile, right? If we do stuff just because that's the same thing that we've done for years, it's not going to really fly during this time. Things have changed, needs have changed, and they will continue to change. And we must meet folks where they're at right now. And so with the digital divide, I think it's very challenging, but I've seen so many efforts across the city and across the region to making sure every household has access to internet. And this is something that I've been working closely with the councilwoman in Ward 14 with the program there to making sure that her residents have access. And I think the city's doing a better job in making sure that the Wi-Fi, the internet, access to it is a top priority, just as food is, right? These things are becoming an essential product of our day-to-day routines, and we must continue to advocate for folks who may not always have the representation that they need at the table to make these decisions. We must continue in our positions to advocate, whether it's through policy or through sponsorship or whatever the case may be, and advocating for the most vulnerable populations to get the necessary tools and resources they need to position themselves to have the best quality of life that they can.
So, Alicia, through so much of what you have been working on through starting multiple small companies and building Freshly Rooted, so much is based in collaboration and building those partnerships. How did you come to embrace this sense of collaborative leadership? And what have you learned on how to make a successful collaboration?
That's a great question. I think I literally think about this question like on a daily basis, because one thing that I found early on in my entrepreneurial ventures was the lack of collaboration, which has really driven me to make sure that I lead with participatory, collaborative, inclusive work, is because I felt there was such a need and so many gaps, especially, and I utilize the city of Cleveland and the region for a lot of my examples, because I think there's a lot of great case studies that we can utilize with our own experiences here. But for one example, within developing Freshly Rooted, I went to so many organizations trying to find resources. I went to the Jumpstarts. I went to the Urban Leagues. I went to all of these great, the Hispanic Business Center. And one thing I noticed was at that time, these organizations weren't really working together for the entrepreneur, which at the end of the day, we were the main, shared clientele within the space. And so it was those type of experiences that really led and continue to lead my work in making sure that everything I do, I'm looking at it from a collaborative approach and understanding that, and for us to make sure that we have the impact and have the systematic changes and the structure changes across sectors, we must work together. And sometimes we find that a lot of people who work together don't really like each other, right? We don't like each other as people, but a lot of organizations don't like the other organization. And so in order for us to really have the impact that we need to kind of put those differences aside, right? And really see what are the commonalities that we share and lead from that foundation rather than the things that we dislike about each other. And I feel like that approach has really positioned me to bring people to the table and create a space in an environment for people who may not have worked together to not work together. And really understanding that we must lead with the core mission and foundation that the people we serve are our priorities. And sometimes we may not get along, but that shouldn't stop us from making sure that the folks that we serve get the best and highest quality of services that they deserve.
So, as you think about the past few months and talking with those you serve and kind of reaching out to the community, what has surprised you most about what you've heard and the work that you've done?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think what surprises me most is, I guess I would kind of divide it into two parts. A lot of the work I do is at this grassroots level where I'm meeting with residents on a consistent basis, and it's fun, it's engaging, it's fresh. And what I've learned there and what surprises me the most is that there's so many people at that level who want to do the work and be a part of the work. I think there's this false narrative that, you know, impoverished communities, low resource communities, they want these handouts, right? And I come from these neighborhoods, so I know that narrative is not true. But when you actually get into it and you work with these neighborhoods and these community residents and understand that they want to be a part of the solution and they want to have their voice heard and they have amazing ideas, that I believe when I share that back out to organizations and other local stakeholders, there's a surprise there, right? Because I think in a sense of development and community development and economic development, there's been such this narrative of create things for people and they'll come versus creating things with people and it will be sustainable. And I think that shift in the paradigm of understanding what community development and engagement really looks like from a diversity, inclusion, and equity standpoint really provides the sustainable results for community rather than the organizations always having to carry the load. Residents want to be a part and they want to be solution driven and they have these amazing ideas to contribute to the work. And we must continue to support them and all that they want to see in their neighborhoods too. So I feel like there's been this surprise between what I translate from the grassroots to the organizational stakeholder level of what's really happening at the grassroots level and how folks want to be engaged in this process.
So for our final question today, what is next on the horizon for you and how can we help support you in that?
Awesome. Great question. So whoever asked that, appreciate people like you who ask questions like this, because I think it's so important to continue to support each other. For me personally, I'm always looking to continue to innovate and provide solution-driven action plans. So I'm working on a lot of different things. I have another passion project I'm currently working on called Mosleray. You can visit that site at www.mosleray.com, which is a different plug, separate from Freshly Rooted. But it's a lot of my experience that I've learned through Freshly Rooted and other ventures have really allowed me to create this platform to showcase other entrepreneurs and other community activists on a different platform. So I'm continuing to grow that. And then what's next for Freshly Rooted is continuing to expand the services and the networks and understanding that we must continue to innovate on a consistent, constant basis because the times are changing drastically. And I think a lot is going to continue to change with the new election that's happening at a national level. But also, we have a lot of energy as a presidential election. But I hope that Clevelanders, and I would assume that most of you are Clevelanders. If you don't live in Cleveland, you work in Cleveland, or somehow you're connected to Cleveland. I'm hoping that we bring the same energy for the local election that we have for the presidential election, because change needs to continue to happen in our city, whether it's from the council persons to the mayor to how we elect our judges and folks even at the city department level. And I believe that we are the change that we want to see in this world. And so those are a couple of things that are next for me. And I'll just continue to offer a lens of support. And I would love to continue to connect with everybody who's joined and who will listen to this in the future. I'm always looking to continue to build relationships. I think folks use the word network loosely. I use intentional relationship building and how I can best serve you and how we can build a relationship and a network together. So I'm thankful for the time and the amazing questions that you all have contributed to this conversation. So thank you.
Well, Alicia, thank you for all you are doing for our community and for the team at Freshly Rooted and Seeds for the impact you're having on the residents of Cleveland. And we thank you for your time today. We will be sure to share your website in the follow-up email. And as your onboard colleague has shouted out, find you on LinkedIn as you are killing it and connecting on there with all of this info. So Alicia, thank you. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Marianne.
Thanks, Rachel. Alicia, you are such an inspiration. Thank you so much for all that you are doing for our community. And I guess the critical takeaway from me was create things with people and they are sustainable. So that was just so beautifully stated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marianne.